So what motivated me to go into this field? I did linguistics as my undergraduate degree, and one of the areas of linguistics is psycholinguistics, and that's an area that looks at how children might acquire their language, how people learn a second or subsequent language, but also how damage to different parts of the brain can lead to different problems with speech, language or communication. That area of study captured my imagination as an undergraduate, and that is what led me to go on to want to study it at a much higher level as a graduate student, and that is where my journey began. I'm particularly fascinated by how changes in the brain, small changes, can result in changes in language, memory, perception, personality. And what really excites me is all the questions that we still have yet to answer about language and the brain. One of the questions I'm interested in is how the speech, language and communication impairments or breakdown, what they can tell us about healthy neural and cognitive processes. So this part of my research answers the basic science questions about language and the brain. I'm also interested in the changes that happen in speech, language and communication as a result of brain damage or brain disease, diseases such as schizophrenia, dementia, depression, and in particular whether these changes can help in the early detection of disease. Particularly fascinating there also is this idea that being bilingual can bring about cognitive advantages or neuroprotection. And if this is true, then we should expect to see performance differences or recovery differences in the bilingual population versus the monolingual population. There are so many kinds of bilingual, so which kinds of bilingualism lead to these kinds of advantages? So my early work was on schizophrenia and looking at the language impairment in patients with schizophrenia, in particular a group of schizophrenics with a symptom called formal thought disorder. So the idea here is that if you can detect, if language does change as a result of brain disease, then the question is, can we detect these changes earlier before the other symptoms manifest themselves? And if so, can we then use these language changes to help us detect disease earlier and perhaps lead to some kind of intervention? So, very exciting area to be in, lots of questions still to answer. There's a lot of good advice out there for aspiring scientists, and out of all the advice that I've read or been offered, I would say that the ones that stick out to me include find support and be supportive of others. If you can, find a network of people working in a similar field where you can talk to them, share victories, disappointments, but also have the opportunity to network and to be mentored along the way, but also for you to be able to mentor others coming up. At Marjon we have such a network. It's called WISER, Women in Science, Education and Research, and it's meant for women academics, gives them such opportunities, and it's a great initiative. My second piece of advice, I suppose, would be, and this is a hard one, I struggle with this, is not to be afraid to fail.